Hello and welcome. I'm thrilled to have you join me for today's live session on leadership capacity and what to do when growth outpaces leadership. If you can hear me, please write yes in the chat. What I hear from many HR directors and executives today is we want to unlock the next level of potential and grow as an organization, not by doing more, not by pushing harder, but by making better choices in how we lead, communicate, and collaborate. Today's event will be around 10 to 12 minutes. Let me suggest you to close your browsers and notifications and use these minutes as a strengthening break that will increase your focus and energy. I'm Lizzie Clausen, high performance coach. For the last 25 years, I have the privilege to work with leaders at Rituals, Volvo, Lego, among many others. I'm also the author of From Suffering to Surfing and Performance Alchemy. Both hit #1 on Amazon. I work with a team of amazing individuals at Brighter Leaders. You can learn more about our work at brighterleaders.com. I have a gift for you at the end of this session, so stay tuned all the way. I work with leaders who are ready to grow, not just in results, but in clarity, connection, and long-term impact. Many organizations I work with are growing. Results are solid. The board is, however, anxious to maintain the level of growth, and new, more challenging goals are set. In this high-paced leadership becomes somewhat more reactive than proactive. The reason being, they say there's not enough time. Let me ask you, how often do you hear yourself or team members say, there's not enough time? Is your calendar full of meetings? Are you sometimes skipping lunch or training? May I ask you to take a step back and reflect? If there are meetings, conversations you shouldn't be having. I bring this up in my books where I share real life cases and how leaders I've worked with have changed the state into a healthier, more sustainable way of working and still achieving challenging goals. In a high-paced culture, it is understandable to have our automatic behaviors kick in. Time for reflection and self-care is minimal, which makes the default mode network in our brains become more active. Many leaders in situations like this share with me they feel pulled into decisions that should sit lower in the organization. But many go into a solve problems mode. If they can do it faster, they do. And paradoxically, in many cases, they're reducing their chances of achieving their goals. Leaders in situations like this create a spiral of having more to do, less time for strategic thinking, and the risk of affecting both their personal well-being and that of their teams, who often feel stressed, sometimes even overwhelmed. At the end of the day, they're tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. In my book, From Suffering to Surfing, I share a concrete exercise to help you with this. Interesting enough, nothing is obviously wrong. Business is flourishing, but something is off. Most senior leaders don't say this out loud, but I hear it often. I'm carrying more than I should, but if I stop carrying it, I'm not sure it will hold, so they keep carrying. This isn't a competence issue. It isn't a motivation issue, and it's definitely not a commitment issue. It's a capacity issue. Leadership capacity is not about how much you can do. It's about how much unfinished business you can carry. Emotionally, cognitively, relationally, without it leaking into your tone, your decisions, or your presence. When growth outpaces leadership capacity, the first thing that breaks isn't strategy, it's inner stability. Please write yes in the chat if you resonate with what I'm seeing in real life. Leaders becoming more decisive, but less curious. Leaders who seem to listen, but in reality, they're already forming the answer. Leaders who tolerate misalignment for a while and then correct it sharply. Leaders who feel responsible for momentum instead of creating conditions for it. Leadership quietly turns into containment. Kindly share with me in the comments, from your experience, what have you seen happen when leadership capacity doesn't expand? Would you agree that the balance between time and energy spent on goals and time and energy spent on people and oneself quietly disappears? I like drawing parallels, and since I train often, I like to think of it like training a muscle. It's like increasing the load, adding volume, and shortening the recovery. At first, performance improves, strength goes up, output increases. It feels effective. But if recovery doesn't keep pace with load, you're no longer building strength. Actually, you're accumulating micro damage. That's what happens when delivery gets all the attention and development gets postponed. Leader development, team development, even your own development. Not because it isn't important, but because goals feel urgent and recovery doesn't. Kindly share in the comments if you've seen this happen. In situations like this, leaders are achieving results with muscles that are no longer regenerating. Energy goes into pushing output, not into restoring capacity. From the outside, it still looks like performance. From the inside, leaders are operating with chronic strain. And chronic strain doesn't cause sudden failure. It leads to compensation. Reduced range of motion, eventually injury. Not because the leaders are weak, but because recovery was treated as optional. I worked with a CEO last year. Strong, respected, deeply committed. Revenue was up, attrition was low. On paper, success. In reality, he hadn't had a real thinking conversation in months. Every interaction was about resolution. Every meeting was about speed. When I asked him, who helps you recover capacity, not just make decisions, he laughed, and then he went quiet. Let me ask you something, and don't answer it intellectually. Where are you compensating for capacity the organization hasn't built yet? Where are people relying on your nervous system instead of their own judgment? When leaders stop overusing their capacity, they don't suddenly think differently or want less or lower the bar. They don't become less driven. They don't relax expectations. They don't go soft. Their mindset stays the same. Their ambition stays the same. Their standards stay the same. I discuss this in more depth in my book, Performance Alchemy. What changes is where and how they spend their energy. Instead of stepping in immediately, solving faster than everybody else, carrying emotional tension for the team, being the safety net by default, they start to pause before stepping in, let others finish their thinking, put pressure where learning can happen. Decide consciously when their involvement is actually needed. You as a leader are not just a decision maker. You're part of the system's energy, pace, and emotional tone. If this resonates with you, let me know in the chat. Every time you jump in, fix, rescue, or absorb pressure, the system adapts around you. Overusing your capacity means the organization is quietly leaning on your speed, your clarity, your regulation. When you stop overusing it, you don't disappear. You become more intentional. You choose when to lead from the front, step back, let discomfort do its work. Leadership capacity grows not by changing who you are, but by changing how often, how fast, and for whom you step in. Let me know if this is resonating with you. Another CEO I worked with noticed something uncomfortable. He was almost participating in every important decision, not because people weren't capable, but because he was faster. So he tried something for a month. In leadership meetings, he stopped answering first. When a problem was raised, he waited. He let the room struggle for a few seconds longer than was comfortable. The first 2 meetings were inefficient. By week 3, his team started coming with clearer thinking. By week 4, he was no longer the bottleneck, and he was less tired at the end of the day. He helped his organization build capacity instead of borrowing it. Allow me to summarize these easy to implement hacks. I've shared with you on how to handle leadership capacity when growth outpaces leadership, so you may scale sustainably. First, stop being the fastest problem solver in the room, because every time you do, the organization will borrow capacity from you. Second, create space for conversations that don't end with a decision. Not every meeting needs an answer. Some meetings need understanding. That's where judgment and ownership develop. Third, protect development time the same way you protect delivery. Do this repeatedly, and they will become your new habit. Because muscles don't fail when they're used, they fail when they're used without recovery. Focus on recovery, and over time, you'll notice how leadership capacity actually grows. And for those of you in HR, I'd like to suggest the following. In the coming days, pick one leader who is clearly carrying too much. Have a 30-minute conversation with just 3 questions. What are you currently holding that shouldn't sit with you anymore? Where are you compensating instead of developing others? What support would help you most right now? Unrecovered strain breaks leaders, and leadership capacity doesn't expand through speed. It expands through deliberate recovery. If this resonated, it's probably because you're carrying more than most people see. You don't have to carry it alone. Before you jump into your next activity, write down one thing you're holding that shouldn't sit with you anymore. If you want to explore that further, reach out to talk to me. As I promise, I have a gift. We will randomly pick one name from the attendees today and send him or her one of my books. Elma, could you please write in the comments who the lucky person is? If you found this helpful, kindly like the post, share your reflections in the comments, and share this link with your network. I would love it if you could share with me one thing that you found helpful today. Congratulations, Sophia. Please send me a DM so I can get your address, and you may receive one of my best-selling books with lots of real-life cases and practical exercises to turn pressure into performance and ambition into lasting results. Thank you, all of you, for joining today. Looking forward to see you soon again. Wish you an amazing week.